Hello besties, it is Becky here with Bestie Becky's Crafts, and it is video number 3 in my flowers series, and today hopefully you can tell that we are going to make daffodils. And I know you know what a daffodil looks like because they're like everywhere, right? So far we have made a wild rose, or my interpretation of a wild rose, and a tiger lily. My interpretation again of a tiger lily. And so today we are going to make daffodils. Now these have a few more steps, but they still are easy to make. You just need a little bit more patience. And so let's go ahead and get started. So I'll set these off to the side. And I again am using Spellbinder's dies, the Die Delight dies, for the daffodil. And I wanted to go ahead and tell you, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit, that if you've never used them before, that they show you on the inside of the package how many of each thing to cut. So the dies, see if I can get them to come out, like for the daffodil look like this, and they tell you, you know, how many petals you need to cut out, how many leaves you need to cut out, and so on. And so as you can tell here, they only gave me 1 petal, and a daffodil has 5 petals. So this one was a ton of die cutting. And this is where it would have been nice to have had, you know, like a sous crafter, not a sous chef, but a sous crafter, to go ahead and do all that fun work for me. So the die cutting part is kind of the tedious part, and the fun part is making them. So let's go ahead and make one. So I have all my wonderful little pieces here cut out, and I have my 5 petals, my stamen, and this they call the cup. It's the cup of the daffodil. It's this part right here, which looks like a cup, and then 3 leaves and the calyx. So in this case I just used 2 colors, the yellow and the green. Now you can use like a darker color for the stamens if you like, but I just decided it was just easier just to use all one color. And I am going to use distress inks anyway to give them some depth, and so I just thought it wasn't necessary to cut out all these different colors. And besides, by the time you're done cutting out all of those, you're just kind of tired. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our distress inking before we start putting this all together. And as you can tell, I have been busy and my poor little fingers are stained. They're so sad, they're so stained. So let's start with our leaves first. And I'm going to use Mowed Lawn, same color that I've been using for all of my leaves so far. And I'm just going to distress the edges. And then I'm going to just do a little bit on the tip of the leaf there. Oops, I didn't mean to bend it up. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of my leaves. Again, an odd number, you know, they always say that that's what more pleasing to the eye. So I've got my 3 leaves. Now I'm not going to distress ink the calyx because you're not going to see it. So no sense in spending your time and effort on doing anything to that. Okay, so I am just done with my Mowed Lawn. So now let's work on our petals. So the petals, I am going to put some mustard seed distress ink on the edges of the petals, and I think, you know, it just adds that little bit of depth, which I think is kind of makes it look maybe hopefully a little bit more realistic. And then as you can see there, I put some in the center bottom of the petal. So this kind of becomes the fun part. And you know, when you're doing a whole bunch of them, once you have them all die cut out, this you can just kind of do assembly line, and it's really not too bad, and it really doesn't take too long. And after you've made a few, they start going together pretty fast. Alright, so my last petal here, and there are 5. Again, you can always check the internet, look for a picture, right? Alright, and then now for the cup of the daffodil, which is the cup of the daffodil, right? They all have them. We are going to put the mustard seed on the top edge of that cup. And I am going to do it on both sides at the top. Now, I know it's to the top because, first of all, the detail that they used on it, but also because it is a cup, it is smaller at the bottom than it is at the top. And if you look at a daffodil, you will kind of notice that it's kind of smaller at the bottom and bigger at the top. And then I'm going to use wild honey because I want a darker color. Move this out of the way here. And I'm going to use the darker color at the bottom of the cup. Oh, just about, I don't know, a third of the way up. I don't know, maybe even looks like half of the way up. And again, I'm going to do that on both sides. So it's just a little bit darker of a yellow. Again, just to give a little more depth to the flower. Hopefully to make it look a little bit more real. Okay, so there's the cup. And then we have this stamen of the flower. And for the stamen of the flower, I'm going to use this wild honey again up at the top of the stamen. And I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to do both sides because you are going to see both sides of the stamen. Alright, so there's that. So we've got all of our pieces distinct and ready to go. So let me get my paper out of the way. And let's go ahead and get started on putting it together. So, part of putting it together is, let's start with our calyx. Okay? And we're going to need our petals. And I think I'm just going to leave my petals in there a little bit easier to get. Now, there's a right side to the calyx and there's a wrong side. You can just kind of tell when you look at it. So I am going to, again, this is just to help me glue down the petals so I don't burn my fingers any more than they're already burnt. Now, there are 5 petals on a daffodil, and on this calyx, I think there's like 8 spots. So we're definitely not going to use all 8 spots. So what I did was I just skipped one and went to the next one. I'm not going to leave any space in between my petals. So just went to the next one and I just used my embossing tool, which is what this is, just kind of a bigger end on the bottom, and glued my petal down. Go to the next one, we'll glue on the bottom and glue my next flower down, or petal. And I'm butting it right up to the top of that calyx. And I'm going to go all the way till I get my 5 glued down. Now, I'm hitting each little bump on that calyx. I'm not skipping any. You can see that. And I'm not skipping any. And the good side of my petal is facing up. Just gluing it down. And my last one. Okay. Alright, so there we have our 5 petals glued down, and again it's stuck to my board as always, just not a big deal. And I have hot glue string everywhere. I tell you, at least it hasn't been in my hair yet. Okay, so here we have our 5 petals glued down, and let's zoom back out a little bit. And I'm going to take my jewelry round nose pliers, and I'm just going to kind of bend and just kind of break up those fibers and kind of work them a little bit, you know, because we're going to glue this into a cup. So I'm going to want this end to kind of come in a little bit more. It may not be pretty on the outside, but that's okay. And then this side is really going to come in, right? Because it's going to be glued over top of the other side. This one just has 1 spot, and this one has 2 spots. So basically, this one is going to come over a lot. It's a little tricky. I think I could have designed this a little bit better, or maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't know. But you want to get it nice and tight and kind of line up your calyx, okay? And you're going to get a nice tight hole there on the bottom. I'm going to hold it together, and I'm going to put some glue, hopefully you can see, on that edge there of my calyx, and glue it down. And this is where it's like, wasn't too bad. Wasn't too hot. But, I don't know, it gets a cleaner edge when you kind of smear that glue. Alright, and I'm just going to hold it for a sec, make sure it's set, and it looks like I messed it up. I know, it looks like I messed it up, but I didn't. Promise you, I didn't. Okay, so I don't need those anymore for right now. And now I'm just going to pick a spot, and I'm going to start curling down my petals. And I'm just going to go around. And I'm using a pencil. And then here's my last one. Okay. And if you want, you can bend them a little more. Whatever you feel like. It's your flower, however open you want it to be, however closed you want it to be. Alright. Okay. So there's the base of our daffodil. Alright, so you will set that off to the side, and now comes the cup. Alright, now the cup, I want the right side of the paper to be on the inside, and the outside of the paper to be on the outside. And I've got glue stuck to my finger. So you can kind of tell when you run it through your die machine, you know, how, you know, you get the little if you've used your die machine a lot and your plates are, you know, kind of funky. So I want the good side to be in the center because that's what you're going to see. You're not going to see the outside, and even if you do, you know, it's not too bad. So I want to just kind of curl with my pencil towards, you know, the inside, to curl it towards the inside to make the cup. It just breaks up the fibers again with the paper. It makes it easier to kind of twirl around. Alright? And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers here from my jewelry set, and if you notice on the cup of a daffodil, the top of it bends down, and I kind of found it a little bit easier to start that process now instead of waiting until you have your cup put together and try and do it, because then you might tear it. So we're just going to kind of get it started, and there we go. So we've rounded it a little bit, you can tell that, okay, and then we've turned those edges over. And now I'm going to take my pencil, it doesn't matter which side I start with, and I'm just going to kind of wrap the cup around my pencil. Okay. Now I'm going to want the bottom of my cup, where we put that wild honey distress ink, to be smaller than the top of my cup. Little tongue twister there. So I'm going to just even up my bottom edges, okay, and make sure the top is open a little bit further. And you just got to kind of play with it a little bit until you get it to where you like it. And I kind of try and line up, you know, the little edges there at the top, because that's what people are going to see, you know. What happens there and there at the bottom, nobody's going to notice. Alright, so there we have the top of our cup, okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the top of the cup because I don't want it to unravel and then have a mess. And I'm going to run glue, hopefully you can see this, kind of like 3/4 of the way up, down to the bottom of my cup. And then I'm going to fold it over and hold it. And any that squishes out, you know, the usual, take off with your finger and hold it for a second just to make sure that it's held, and it's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go back and use my pliers again and round down those top edge. Since we've broken up those fibers already, there it's really easy to do, and I'm not so worried about tearing the paper. Alright, now we glue this to the center of our daffodil, and hopefully we've gotten it small enough that it'll fit in there pretty good, but it doesn't have to fit down in there all the way. I'm going to put glue on the bottom edge, you see that, of the cup, and then I'm going to put it down in the center of my daffodil, and it doesn't really matter where the edge of the cup is. And then I'm going to make sure that it's straight, and then I'm going to kind of push it down and kind of push up the petals at the same time from the bottom. You can see that. So the petals will kind of stick to the bottom of the cup and cover up that glue, and it'll get that cup down in there nice. Alright, now we have the stamen, and the stamen is just like any of the other stamens I have done so far. We're just going to twist it around with our tweezers. like so. And then I'm going to hold it with my finger and do a little dot of glue. I should wear my little finger protectors, but they just make me feel clumsy. And they're tight on my fingers. I must have fat fingers or something. Okay, so I'm gonna pull that out, being careful not to pull the center down. All right. So here we have like the center. We have our stamen, and it's kind of easier now to separate it. And all I'm doing is just the little pieces, just kind of pulling them apart. Because once we get it down in that cup of the daffodil, it's kind of hard to do. But I'm going to kind of grab it, oops, by the center with my tweezers. Get a good hold. And put some glue on the bottom. And we're gonna, oops, I'm too far down. We're gonna put it down in the cup of our daffodil. You see that? And that looks pretty good, actually. I'm just gonna kind of leave that alone and let that set. All right, and then we have our 3 leaves. Oops, sorry about that. And just like the other ones, just curl them with your pencil. And there's a skinnier end, which is the one that you glue. I've already distress inked them. And actually, all these leaves I think are like the same. Which I suppose the daffodil leaves are probably all the same, right? I don't know. Haven't really looked at the leaves. Alright, and then so I'm going to go ahead and glue 2 leaves together, and it was a little warm. And then I have my, oops, my 3rd leaf. I'm telling you, all these little spider webs. Alright, now I just need to decide where I want to put my leaves. And that's just kind of, you know, a personal preference. So I think I'm going to put a couple leaves right here. Kind of looks like a good spot. I'm just going to hold them till they set. And then my other leaf, I think I'm going to put over there. Alright, oops. Best if I get it glued onto something, right? Alright, so there's our daffodil. That was pretty quick. I mean, you know, for the most part. So there we go. 5 little daffodils. That's probably a song there somewhere, right? Alright, so we're getting a good start on that bouquet. Just a couple more flowers to go. And the next 2 I've got to make are super easy. And then I'll show you how I'm going to make the vase to put them in. So that's our daffodil for today. And like I said, the other 2 videos were for the wild rose and the tiger lily with a big glob of glue there. And I will leave links for these videos down below. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you give the daffodil a try. And we will see you next time for the next flower. So, happy crafting and have a great day. See you later. Bye.